Alright, today we're going to be working on a 2006 Honda Civic. A lot of the Hondas are all very similar to this, but basically we're going to be changing the front brake pads as well as the brake rotor. As you can see, this brake rotor here, it seems like it's staying applied. You can see all these spots inside here, these heat spots. So we're going to be replacing this rotor too. A couple things we want to check before we really do anything on here is we want to make sure that the slide pins are sliding the way they're supposed to. Because a common problem with the cars is that these slide pins freeze up, makes the caliper stay applied, and then you wind up prematurely wearing down the brakes and you wind up with squeaks and everything else. We're going to also be changing the hardware kit here, and the reason we're going to change the hardware kit again is because it's staying applied and we don't want to take a chance on damaging the new brakes and rotors. First thing we're going to do is going to take out these screws here to hold the rotor in place. Sometimes these can be a real pain to get off because they're rusted in there pretty solidly, as you can see. But I'm going to show you a trick to get that off, fairly simple. So we're going to take these two screws out here. We're going to push this piston back in, and we're going to check the caliper. And then we're going to remove this bolt and this bolt. I think they're 14 millimeter. And then down in the back over here, right here, let me get a light here so you can see. We have two bolts, one here and one down on the bottom over here, right there, that we're going to be taking out also, and then we'll take that knuckle off of the car, the mounting bracket, I should say. We're going to take this mounting bracket off the car. So let's get some tools and let's get started. Okay, remember I said we're going to take these off first, right? And the way I take these off, every one of these Hondas, before you do anything, you take a driver, you put it on top of the screw like this here, and you just hit it pretty firmly and then snap the rust loose and you'll be able to get it off. So I'll show you. Put it on here like this and then hit it pretty firmly. Same thing. On the bottom one, same. And then we should be able to get in here with the screwdriver and remove them. Alright? That's one way of doing it. Now if you have it this frozen and you can't get it off, they do make a driver to actually get that out of there. And this is the driver here. You put it on the screw here, and then you hit it in the back with the hammer, and it breaks it loose. In this case, it's fairly loose already. We don't have to worry about it. But if you couldn't get it off, that's an option for you also. There's a driver like this. Put it on the top like this, and then you hit it in the back, and it rotates it right out. That's not the case here. It actually was loose enough so that we can take it out by hand. Once you hit it with that, with the hammer, hit it very firmly, it snaps. All that rust that's on here comes off and you get it right out. Alright, so that's the next thing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the caliper and we're going to push that piston back in. And the way you do it is you take a screwdriver and you get in through the back over here and you hook it and you slowly pry it until the piston pushes all the way back in. Okay, once you have this, the piston pushed back in on here, you'll slide the caliper back and forth. And as you can see, the caliper slides properly, so these slide pins are not frozen. They slide freely the way they're supposed to. So we're just going to lubricate these, and we'll be fine. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out these bolts in the back that actually secure the caliper to the mounting bracket. I was wrong, it's not 14 millimeter, it's a 12 millimeter. Take them out. Once you break them loose, you can usually take them out by hand if they're not too rusty. And we're going to just take the caliper and we're just going to bring it to the side. I never like to let a caliper hang while I'm working, so I take a hanger, hook it on here, and then just secure it up and out of your way so that it's not dangling on the end of that rubber hose. All right, brake pads we're going to be throwing away, so we don't need them. away from there. Next thing we're going to do is going to take out those 2 bolts in the back. They should be 17 millimeter from, take them out. And we're going to remove that bracket. Take this bracket off the car. And now the rotor is ready to be removed also. You just take it and pull it right off the car. And check the face back here to make sure there's not a significant amount of rust on there. Otherwise you'll put the new rotor on and it's going to be slightly warped and you're going to get a pulsating pedal. In this case it's nice and clean, but if it wasn't clean you'd get in here with sandpaper and clean this up. Alright, let's put that new rotor on and we'll get this job wrapped up. Now obviously you know there's only one way that this rotor can go on because you have to line those screws up. And we're going to put the screws back in here. And tighten them up nice and tight. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to, remember we talked about we're going to change that hardware on here. We're actually going to pull these clips off and we're going to replace them with new. And the way you do that is just get behind it with your finger and pry it right off and we're going to put new ones on. Same thing right here. Pry it right off. And we're going to put the new ones in place of it. And we'll get this job wrapped up. Let me grab the new ones. Right, these are the new clips here. And you basically just push them on like that. And you push them in like that. And like that. And now you've got your new hardware mounted on here. We're going to do the same thing up top here. There's only one way it can go on so you can't make a mistake. Push it over the top. Push it down. And push it down. And you're in just like you belong. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull these slide pins here out. And we're going to lubricate these with the brake silicone. It's a special grease made just for these things. And the way you do it is you have to make sure they go back into the same spot where they came out. You just take it out, put a little bit of lubricant on here, put it back in. Same thing on this one here. See, I did 2 different ones. One has got the rubber on it and the other one doesn't. So just lubricate it. Make sure you put them back in the same place you took it out of. And push them all the way down until the rubber comes back up on the top where it belongs. See how that one's not up there? And you push it in. And you see it snaps right up to where it belongs. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to lubricate everywhere that the brake shoes touch. You put a good amount of grease. Again, it's a special brake grease. It's not just wheel bearing grease or anything like that. Alright? Now I'm going to put the caliper back on the car. Just put it over the top and then tighten those 17 millimeter bolts in by hand first, as tight as you can make them. Before you tighten them up all the way, get both of the bolts caught, tighten them up, and then you get in there with your ratchet and tighten it up so that it's fairly tight. Same thing here, top one. Nice and tight. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to point out something here. These brake pads here have a sensor built onto them like this. You got to make sure you use the correct sensor on here. See how this one here has the sensor in a different position? This sensor is here, this one is here, so we know that's not the right one. This is the correct one. Okay, the sensor is in the same position, and we know this is an inner brake pad because there's the sign where the caliper piston was touching against it. So we're going to put that back in place. The new one. And then the other brake pad does not have an indicator on it. The way you put them in is just put it in like this, push them forward, and they slide right in. The front as well as the rear. All right, next thing we're going to do is let's take our caliper that we previously hung up by a cable, and we're going to lay it over the top like this. Now I push that piston all the way back in there, and I can slide it over the top, but let me show you something. If by chance you can't get this over the top here because the piston is not in far enough, then what you do is they sell a special tool. Okay, but the way that this tool works is that you put the brake pad in here, and then you turn this, and it pushes the piston back in just that little bit, so that you can get it over the top of these new shoes. All right, but if you push it in with the screwdriver, you won't have to worry about this. But I just want to show you, just in case you ran into a problem, you know what to do. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the caliper and lay it back in here like this, and just push those slide pins in, so that you can put the caliper back on. And then we're going to grab the two 12 millimeters that we took out and screw them in by hand. I just want to show you one other thing too. When you screw these in, make sure that these pieces here fit flush right in there the way it's supposed to, here and here. Otherwise you're going to have a problem getting that bolt in. It's going to wind up being out too far. All right, and then we'll tighten these down. Screw them in by hand as far as you can. And then once you got them tightened in as far as you can by hand, then we can tighten it up with the ratchet. All right, and that's it. Let's go over a couple of things just to make sure you got everything done right. All right, we have our caliper on, and both of our Phillips head screws are tight. We have the caliper mounting bracket mounted on. We tightened up those two 17 millimeter bolts in the back. We put our new hardware in here. We lubricated all of our slide pins and everywhere that the brake pad touches. And then we tightened up our 12 millimeters, and that's it. We're all set. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go around to the other side. We're going to put the other side back together, and we're going to wrap this job up. All right, thanks for watching. Any questions, comments, or whatever, drop me a line, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.